This is TWiT.
So I've got some news for those who have been hoping for a little bit of an easier way to get the assistant to kind of help you out in doing common phone tasks. And Burke, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to drop a URL in our chat so that we can do this together live and on screen.
Let's do it together.
I thought it'd be fun. Yeah, I thought so. Last week, Google announced, I can tell you what I'm talking about. Last week, Google actually announced a couple of accessibility-driven features for Android. A couple new updates coming to things like sound amplifier, live transcribe, a couple updates there. And also another thing that they had announced was an app called Action Blocks. And the point behind Action Blocks was to kind of help automate some oft-used features that you usually do on Android, either for folks who maybe have a seeing impairment or for folks who maybe don't, can't necessarily interact with the screen. So they would use an action block, set it up to kind of help them do something common like, I don't know, turning on the smart bulb in a house or even starting a video call with Duo, for instance. So I was thinking it'd be fun, informative for those tuning into video, and I'm gonna do my best to make this as engaging as I can for our audio listeners as well, but just to kind of like walk through what it's like to set up an action block on your Android device. So Burke, if you wouldn't mind going to the URL, it should be all set up for you. So here we are on my page. Hopefully nobody calls or texts during this whole thing. But this is basically when you download Action Blocks from the Play Store. Anybody can download this and set this up. And what this is going to do is you're going to basically use the same formulation that you would for a Google Assistant command, but you're going to set it up as this easy to use widget. And the reason you'd want to do this is, let's say you're a user who, can't interact with the screen. So you would use TalkBack and kind of have Android use it that way. Or, this is for anybody to have access to. So you'd create an action block. And it gives you a couple of common actions. So we're going to go ahead. Let's see what's under other actions. As you can see, a lot of the features that are offered are things that you can already do with the assistant. So under other actions, we have options to create a custom action, create a reminder, open an app, open the calendar, get directions. There's also home control actions. You can set the temperature at home, turn on the lights, turn off the lights. And some of the more common actions they have listed are making a phone call, starting a video call, sending a text message, playing a video, playing music, or setting an alarm. I think for this one, we're going to do, let's open an app. What does that sound like? You guys agree? I think you guys agree. We're going to open an app with this one. So let's open an app that we use a lot. Now, this action block, you are going to set it up the same way that you would a Google Assistant command. So think about the app that you would like to launch. Now, the thing about action blocks is, as exciting as it is, again, it's limited to what the assistant can do. So it would require that the app that you would like to launch actually has been installed, configured, and works with this particular command line. There's also the ability to select whether you want this action to always be spoken out loud. Of course, you have to take into consideration that others might be listening in, so just something to take into account. And if anybody who is familiar with IFTTT, usually will let you, or it will always let you test the code before, or test the action before it goes live. You could do the same thing with an action block. So we're gonna open an app. Let's see. How about we let's open Spotify. Let's get our music going because it's something that we would just love to do. So we're gonna go ahead and you can either say it or you could type it in. Do open Spotify. All right, and then we're gonna go to test it. So we're gonna tap this test action button. Okay. And we're testing it. It works. Hooray. All right. So we're going to go back to Oh, sorry, everybody that is watching this and that is feeling. Did this action do what you expected? A dialog window asks me, to which I say yes, or you can edit it if that's not the case. So now we're going to tap on next. Okay, now we can set an image if you'd like for this to kind of just make it easily recognizable. You can go in your photo library, take a photo with a camera. Maybe, you're trying to control a specific smart object in your house. That would be helpful in that case. Or you can go into the symbol library. I'm going to go into the symbol library. I'm just, for the purposes of this little show and tell, I'm just going to select this cool space icon that they have here. And then I'm going to give this action a name. So this action is going to be called Play Music. And I can't spell music. That's what's happening right now. Now we're going to save this action block. It's going to ask you if you want to add it to the home screen. Of course, we'd like to add it to the home screen. We want this to be very helpful. So I'm going to tap next. And then what I'm going to do is you could have Android add your widget auto magically, as it says. So it'll just add it to the home screen wherever it wants. Or you can long press and hold and then drag it to where you would, where you would like it to go. All right. And then there we go. Now we have a helpful Play Music widget, which I'm going to tap and show you how that launches. And it's initiating the assistant. And then boom, there we go. We're in the Spotify app. So that is the extent of action blocks. And now action blocks there's a variety of cases where you can use it. So for folks who might want more accessibility added to the Android operating system, it's also a great thing to consider if maybe you're setting up a phone for an elderly loved one, maybe somebody who isn't so keen on the ways that the UI works on Android, or they just want to have those easy to access features right there under their fingertips. This is a great just little feature to set up. And again,
I'll add to that flow. You can have a power user like ourselves, where I'm in scenarios where I use Assistant all the time with my Google Home, and I don't want to speak things because I'm in the room with the babies, and I might want to say, turn lights off, turn lights on, play this song, or any of this sort of stuff. And honestly, sometimes the voice assistant doesn't always get the right thing or can't hear you or whatever. And if hitting a shortcut button on my phone would make things so much easier sometimes. So that's one of the reasons why I almost jumped all over this, because I was like, this is actually the assistant functionality I've been looking for.
I mean, if you think about it, it's essentially distilling down some of the easy tap options that you get on a smart display. So my Lenovo smart display, I can go in and set the temperature. I can, touch around and change the color of the lights and the brightness. So you would maybe set up an action block that could do that for you, and then you just have it on your phone. It's so much easier than having to actually speak to the assistant. So it's just generally an app that is helpful for a variety of use cases. And I think it's ironic that the value add for the assistant is the whole voice interaction, and now we're coming up with ways to circumvent that. I know. But
Google's coming up with ways to circumvent it.
Well, because I think the whole point was it started as something that was voice centered, and then for it to truly evolve, it can't just be for people who speak, that right, makes it a limited feature. So this just makes it universally available to everybody. And anyway, all of this is just one giant manifestation of the Google Assistant. That's all it is. It's another way to tap into that available engine and just make it available for everybody. And that's what Google's kind of good at. So
I will say, being dependent on the assistant, especially in a parenting environment, does yield some fascinating results. Whereas a couple of months ago, for some reason, we would play for the babies the same album, the same record all the time, and me and my wife had it then, hey G, play this album, whatever. And for some reason, it just started playing something else. And and I tested it, everything. I finally direct messaged Google or Nest or whatever the account is on Twitter, and we went back and forth for about a week. And they're like, "Okay, what album are you trying to get to?" And I was and I recorded what was happening, sent it to him, and then one day it magically worked. And I'm fairly certain that someone just hard coded those results to get me to shut up. but but then it happened again this weekend where, like, so for example, if anyone's seen on Netflix, John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch, there's a great song at the end of it with Jake Gyllenhaal called Music, Music Everywhere that my kids just love. It's just like fantastic. And so we play that song on a daily basis. And for whatever reason this weekend, I said the same command to Google, and it, instead of playing the song on Google Play Music, it played a YouTube music playlist from John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch, which started with a different song. And for the life of me, we could not get to the song we wanted. And I was like, I let it go for like a day, and then I was about to send the direct message again, and then it started working again the way we wanted it to. So sometimes they tune things on the behind the scenes as to where it goes and things like that. Yeah, but being able to set up an action block where I know I want to play this song and I don't have to ask the same question to the assistant, I can just press the button on the phone and play it, and the kids will start laughing. That's worth it for me. So like I installed this app, I'm setting stuff up. It's totally the way to go.
And it's much easier than setting up a voice command or setting up maybe a routine, because I know that for some folks they really rely on routines to get the assistant to do things. But like your example, Ron, and I know we've been talking a lot about parenting on this podcast, but because the three of us are family, you know, it just, we talk about these things because this is how we use this stuff in our life. And
using technology.
For me, the big headache is like when my daughter is screaming because she's super tired because, you know, she takes after me. I got to get those lights down low, and I got to get the red lights on. Like, we need to get the lights low. We need to just change the environment. And I don't know, it's like magic. It just works on her. But if you're not getting the name of the light correct and the baby is crying and screaming and Google can't hear you, you just want that button to just press and like make everything into the perfect sleep environment. So my
favorite all about parenting and Google Assistant, Google Home mistake was that after Christmas, the Christmas time ended, and I took down the Christmas trees. Yes. I took the smart outlets for the Christmas trees and put them in the baby's room and put all the lights on that. And so it's great. We just say, turn on the lights, turn whatever. I did not change the automatic timer that I had set to turn the lights on at a certain time. And so it might have gone several days, but one day my wife was like, did the lights just go on in the baby's room? And I was like, oh my God. So they were literally at 7:30, whatever it was. The Christmas lights were turning on, but that was the lamp in the baby's room. And so I quickly scrambled to turn it off and then killed that timer. But yeah, sometimes you got to keep track of all your devices and how they're working, especially when little ones are involved.
This is how real people use the stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna put another one out for us here. This is how the real people in the world use this stuff. Okay. You know, it's when you're just stressed, or when you're trying to do 5 things at once, trying to get something work. Like, that's all the stuff, really.
Yeah, and with action blocks, you could just have like a single home screen that has your most often used things just on a grid with some nice images and everything. You can get creative with it. So that is action blocks. Point. Yeah. Do a search for it in the Play Store and you can find it, but you won't find it in the Arena because it's made by Google.